And isn't this just like the most energizing thing to give you that lift in the winter? Yes, it's just bees coming out of a box, and in the summer I'd go, what the hell are they playing at? But they're on the cleansing fly. Everywhere I look in the apiary, there's bees flying like mad. It's a complete surprise because, like, for instance, that number there, 72. 10 minutes ago, there wasn't a bee moving in that colony. Now it's just pouring out the front. Look at that, you know? And they're all so lovely. They're all like, yay, we're flying, we're pooping, you know? Lovely to be back in some beautiful sunshine. So an update on what's happened. Not a lot. We've had a good bit of cold weather, but no snow. So our cold weather went to approximately, around freezing for a few days. Maximum 1s and 2s in the day, at night -2, -3. Not a deep cold. A lot of people ask me what my climate is like here, and I could explain it as fairly temperate. We do have winter frost, but we don't often have snow. But it's nice when we have snow, but I'm one of these people that I absolutely hate all the bits around the snow. It's usually sleety, rainy, cold, damp, that chilling cold that gets to you, that is because the air is so damp around you and it just rips the heat out of you. When we do have cold weather, I actually love it because you can get outside, it's often sunny, and you can just get on with things. But we today have another window in the weather, and the window in the weather is finally giving us some time to do our mite treatments. This is what I call the European version of the Pro Vape. Okay, so this is it's called a Sublimox, and it's supplied by MEC Services. Okay, this is the one I have, and it's basically exactly the same, or as good as the same as the Pro Vape that a lot of people use in Canada and America, obviously across the whole of America. And it's got a little box of electronics in here. It's 240 volts, but obviously I know the Pro Vape runs on 110 volts, so we have to have an inverter, and I'm going to show you all that today. I have done a video on me using my Sublimox before, but I'm just going to cover a few things around it that help me get a day's vaping in, because it's so important to be organized when you're vaping. You've got to know exactly what you're doing, you've got to wear the right protection, and you've got to have everything set up so you can just go down the whole row of hives, because that's what this bit of kit does. It was 400 euros when I bought it, so about 380 pounds. They have gone down a little bit since. I've had this for a couple of years. I haven't changed anything yet. The only thing I do have to change every now and again is the rubber O-ring seals around here, and they're like, only 1 or 2 euros each, depends where you get them from. For me personally, I do all my vaping through the front door. I do foam off the front entrances and close off the open mesh floors. I do have open mesh floors on most of my hives. Now, to close off my open mesh floors on my main production hives, I have these cardboard that obviously I go on about quite a bit because they're just so useful, but we cut these to the right size. That's the width. We slide it underneath. It's an inspection board, and it also is a blocker offer, or a way to stop the air from escaping when you vape. Now, these aren't ideal, and if you get the cut a little bit wrong, you can have a little gap around the edge, and that's the problem I've had. So what I'm doing is I'm actually looking at ordering 250 to 300 of the proper things for our bases to actually close them off properly, so that and every year I can take them out and wash them. My personal view on open mesh floors is, because we have them and they come with our bases of our hives, they are our hive bases, basically. They're all in one, they're plastic, and I've shown you the picture before. And this is why it's so easy for us to just keep using them. Whether you want to use them or not, it's such a big open debate. But my personal view is now I'd like to close them off over the winter or late winter, early spring. Leave them closed while that queen's starting to brood. I know there's evidence now, and I spoke about this before, that she does brood for a lot of the time over the winter. But my other thought was, if you've got a colony that is running low on stores and you do put the base in, if you've got wind blowing around the hive when it's cold in February and March, and that you've got a bigger colony growing, she's starting to brood, that she's going to burn more honey. If you can close the bottom off, it may just be the edge, the difference between the colony dying of starvation and you getting there before and finding that colony light, so you can do something about it. That's why I close off my bases. I like to leave them open all summer because I believe it does help a little bit against swarming, because it helps reduce the temperature of the cluster from being hot to really hot. It just helps ventilate around those combs. The bees, I know, will obviously keep the temperature what they want to do, but if you imagine a box that's completely closed and there's no ventilation in it in a hot summer's day, you might help induce swarming by having less ventilation in that colony. It's not fixed, it's just the way I think about it. I don't know. That's just one of my thoughts. Regarding the Varroa, I remember Mike Palmer telling me he's got mixed ideas, and I have to say I completely agree with this. The fact that if you get open mesh floor and you've got it, so you want to help kill the Varroa as one of the tools, maybe, but really, are the mites going to be able to fall down between the frames all the way and fall through here? I don't think so. I think that has really been proven that it doesn't do much. Dead mites will find, they will fall down because bees will be moving over the frames, yes, but I don't think live mites are going to drop through. And we can use this for counting by putting, so when we close this off for our, this is how we do it. That slides in here, and this is how we close off our bases. There we go. But there is a plastic board, as I said before, that you can buy that slides in here exactly the same, and it seals better. So even though I'm saving money for the cost of the proper equipment, you're going to gain that little bit extra, that edge, and also you can wash them every year and you never have to throw these away. We tend to keep these in for a season. It's a lot of work to cut a lot of these. Imagine we've got a lot of these to cut. If you look just down here, this is what we end up with. We cut them all up and I bag them up, ready to use in the apiary. But it is a lot of work. So if once I've got them all, I've got the proper kit, I will be able to just wash it each year. Incidentally, look at that lovely hazel. You can see here these catkins, and look, there's actually a bee on it, look, see? And if you can see that, there's a bee trying to get some pollen. Pretty awesome. And that's one of the wonderful things about planting your own trees around your apiaries, is you are hopefully, I'm going to bring you over to see this. This is what it's all about. There you go. That bee there, checking out that pollen. I don't think there's much ripe pollen on this yet, but I think it's nearly there. If you can see that as well. But it's lovely to have a tree amongst your bees that the minute they can get on it, they do. And we have a flight going. We've got a lot of activity here, I'm quite pleased to see. There's a lot of bees out pooping. You can see that, there's bees on everything. I know these are alive because you can see I cut here last week with a mower and I got stung on the backside a couple of times. And I went, yep, they're alive. They're all alive, look great. That's what I like to see. Really makes me happy, this. And also in the fact that I know that when I come and vape these in about an hour's time, they're all moving around in their cluster. So I'll have a really good efficacy of the vaping. Some are cleansing, some aren't. So it's good, very, very nice to see. Makes me feel absolutely brilliant that, and even the colonies over there now, it just shows you how they're all coming awake. They're thinking, are we gonna have a flight, are we not? And then the sun keeps out and everything is alive. Look at that, it just gives me complete joy to see this. Wonderful, nukes there, looking great. I've got one dead there, no big deal, but the one next door is good, you know? Bees flying. Happy days, not huge, look at that, just beautiful in the sunlight there. Long way to go yet though, long way, but when you see this, it gives you that complete lift. Beautiful, so nice to see. Bees land on you, they don't sting you generally. They land in your hair, they just fly off again. It's absolutely fantastic, you know. Just a joy to see. I have to say, this is one of the first years I've actually seen bees on this tree, on the pollen. What a sound. I don't know if you can hear that. Whoa, look at these over here. These are looking good. So these are in the shade still, and they're not quite getting out of flight yet. They're still moving, but they're nothing like these though. Look, these are absolutely exploding. Look at that. Got some of my queens in here from Arista Bee Research that I'm using this year, that we grafted last summer. So we're going to let these see how they do this spring. These queens will go into a main hive, and we'll monitor them through the software and see how they perform, and they'll be recorded, and we'll be able to record their varroa loads and see how we can start on that. And that's so exciting to be involved in that. But just look at it, it's exactly what you want. Absolutely beautiful. I miss all this. I can smell the bees right now. I have got some losses, and I'm learning more and more about these losses now. The more and more we talk about it and think about it. We had a bad year for Asian hornets this year. Not a bad year in terms of the overall amount of Asian hornets during the year, but at the end of the year it was very warm. And it seems that what's happened is I spent a lot of time and effort, but obviously it had to be done, on making sure I was getting my varroa numbers down early as I could. You saw me do some varroa counts here, they were high. But I've treated with apivar strips, I treated with thymol in the solution over the autumn when I was autumn feeding, and the numbers came right down. But what I'm finding now is I'm finding the odd dead out here and there in the apiaries, and I went through all the apiaries well before the winter to shake out any dead outs, to get rid of them. So I knew that anything that died over the winter, which doesn't usually happen, because if you get your bees clean into the autumn and then they've got a good strong colony, there's no reason for them to die. But the reason we're finding is when you have a permanent presence of Asian hornets outside the front of your colonies, what's happening is it basically stops the queen from laying. She stops laying because the colony is under so much stress. Those crucial months of October, November, which were really warm for us this year, we're talking flying weather, 16 to 18 degrees every day, put a huge amount of pressure on colonies. And I've got colonies that are completely full of stores, that had lovely clusters, that have a dead queen inside, but they've got no other bees. There's just a queen with about 5 bees. It's not varroa. It is this really weird thing we get where there's basically no winter bees being made. And the reason why I've got this is because I didn't trap enough in my apiaries. And you only need 1 or 2 hornets permanently outside the front of the hives, going up and down. They're not trapping many bees. There is bees coming and going, but the bees know, and they get this stress. And when bees are stressed, they do weird things. So combine that with the lack of pollen at the end of the summer, combine that with no food coming in through the door in terms of nectar until you feed. Suddenly bees are trying to make up all their lost ground, and they just don't have enough time. They have too many old bees going into the winter and not enough young bees being born, and that's what's happened. And then you just find the hive that's basically empty, and you get hives that are heavy as hell. There's no reason to clean them out. So what I'm going to do is they're going to have brand new nukes put in them. My nukes are all okay because this is very area specific. I've got some apiaries that are perfect, absolutely perfect. Every single colony is alive and looking great. I know it's only January. We could have a lot of cold weather to come yet, but at the moment it's looking great. We've got a little bit of warmer weather today. You can see the bees are flying. Fantastic. But this problem is so evident, and I'm sure that it was a bigger varroa problem last year, but it was still an Asian hornet problem. And what I need to do is I've been looking at all the evidence, and I know that I've got to put at least between 8 and 10 hornet traps in my apiaries. See, this year, because it was so mild and there was like a moderate amount of Asian hornets, the pressure was there, but the Asian hornets were finishing their life cycle, and there was loads of workers and founding queens for next year just hanging around. They weren't we had cold nights, but in the day it was fairly warm. They were just hanging around putting this pressure on the colonies. So the bees couldn't forage and the colony was under stress. It's the most difficult thing to understand if you don't know about Asian hornets. But the way they kind of work, it's like a psychological battle. They almost kind of do the bees' head in, that colony knows it's under stress. That's why they all get, I've told you about this before, they get this kind of cluster and they kind of sit on the front, and then when the bee comes back, they kind of divert the hornet a bit, and they're trying to work together as a one unit to stop this hornet stalking and hunting, and well, hawking is the word, not stalking. That's another thing. But it stops the Asian hornet, you know, being successful. And they're not very successful. And the problem is, the other thing is, because they're always trying to get a bee but not always successful, the colony knows that this pressure is there, and the queen stops laying. And that's one of the reasons why. I mean, we're looking at all our Varroa results. They're all pretty good. They're all fairly low. It's certainly not a Varroa issue. It's always obviously part of it, but it's not the main issue. The main issue is this pressure from the Asian hornets. And it is shocking that I really think that I've missed out on the last couple of years. I'm kind of kicking myself thinking, why don't I put more traps out? Because all the traps I had in the apiaries all come back pretty full with Asian hornets, but they didn't come back. I should have put more, and I would have trapped a lot more Asian hornets per trap, because I kind of missed out. And you'd think I would know that by now, but I thought, Brittany, we don't know, you don't see many there. You go to an apiary, there doesn't seem to be many, but there's always a presence. And that's the thing. So you live and learn. So whatever I do, whatever I find this spring, I know that's another thing I've got to do for next summer. I've done the other things. They seem to have helped a lot. It's all about speaking with others, sharing that information they've got, looking at the stuff and coming up with better answers and better ways to run your bees. Because I know I've lost colonies again this winter, but it doesn't seem to be anywhere near the amount as last year. But I was hoping to be able to keep all my colonies, use some in my apiaries to cover the losses, sell some others, fill up empty hives I've had in storage since they were made. They've never been used yet. But I might not be there this year either, but I'll just have to keep on and see how it goes. One thing to really pick up on is I saw a presentation by Little Bits Joe. I think it's called Honeybees. I'll put the link up now. Fantastic interview with Randy Oliver from California. I mean, that guy is so on the money. He's so doing it. He's like, it's just a joy to listen to him, because it gives you that hope that there's someone out there doing the shit that needs to be done for bees, because we are getting no support here either in France. They're even talking about banning oxalic acid over here now for use on beekeeping, even the apibioxal, because they are saying that it's technically an illegal substance, even though it's licensed under apibioxal. So I feel when you watch that Randy Oliver thing, and go and watch it, it's absolutely brilliant. It just opens your mind and gives you that underlying confidence that he is doing a lot of stuff and supporting where you can. Even if it's a small donation, give him a donation. You can give a small donation on PayPal every month, even if it's £1 a month. It's just absolutely brilliant. He's writing papers, he's publishing papers. There's some great new information coming out. He's going to be releasing on his own glycerol impregnated patches with oxalic acid that he's not even putting in between the frames, and they go on the top. And it's absolutely brilliant that this is going on. So please watch that video. It opens your mind to the possibilities, and he's got this kind of manner about him that like he says, everything is possible when there's a will. And I think that we're all missing that. We're all kind of a bit locked down, all a bit doom and gloom with winter in the northern hemisphere, and sometimes you need someone just to give you that underlying energy to prop you back up again, and to give you that energy to help you move forward and to go, yeah, no, I can do that, I can do this, we'll do it that way, because that seems to be the right way now. That's what it's all about to me. So getting back to the job in hand today, I'm going to go and do some vaping. We have had 2 windows in the weather since last week. So last Friday we started early. We did, I think, 9 apiaries. It was absolutely fantastic. I worked with my colleague Christian. We did this together. I went in my truck, but I left my truck kind of in the peripheries, and we went in his little 2CV van, which is the classic French van. And we had the generator in the back. We had my Sublimox. We had all the gear. We drive into an apiary. Most of them were just about passable, but there was a couple we had to put snow chains on because they're down a road, down a road, down a road, and then down 3 tracks, and then we get to the apiary. But we just cannot risk getting stuck, because as you know, when you're a beekeeper and you've got that one window in weather, like today, but when you have that window, you have to go for it, and you just work, work, work. So we did a lot. I've got over half my apiaries done now, so this is a big apiary in terms of my amount of bees. They're all scattered around. It looks a bit sparse actually, but there's actually a lot of bees here, and I'm really pleased to see them flying and having a toilet flight, because I'm thinking, okay, it gives you that thing, have I got the problem? Well, I've lost a few colonies, but it doesn't look anything as bad as last year at the moment. And the fact is there's no pressure on the colonies now, and by vaping them, you're also removing the pressure of varroa, because if you're killing 98% of a problem, of an issue in that colony, and the rest is just 2%, say you get 98%. If I vape them again in a week, I'll get 98% of that 2%. So I'll be down to like a very small amount of the mites that are left, I hope. And now this week is going to be windy and wet all week. We've got the classic problem again. We've got a big depression forming over the Atlantic, and I don't know whether I'll be able to vape again in 5 days' time. But I know that because the queens aren't brooding much, if at all, when I do vape again in say 5, 10, 15 days' time, it will definitely be worth doing. So that is, to me, is paramount, because as I've said before, if you can get your mite numbers down in the winter, it's worth its weight in absolute gold when you start again in that springtime. They get away, off the bees go, and they're clean. And that's the thing. Okay, I wanted to get their numbers down even more earlier, and next year I will try and vape in October, as well as giving them Apivar strips or whatever we decide to do. But actually I'm going to go down the road of probably caging all my queens, as I've said before, in late August, and then vaping them all after 24 days, because I just feel that's a better approach now. And I'm pretty sure that Apivar is not working as well as it should be, if at all. But as I said, I'm not going to talk about that now. I've spoken about that already. But that's my thing. If you can get your mite numbers down early in the autumn, okay, you're going to reduce your virus loads for sure. And another thing, Randy Oliver talks definitively about that. It's really interesting. But no matter what happens, whether you've got viruses or not in your colonies, you've still got to get the mites down, because if you don't get them down early, one mite might be 20 mites by May, but 10 mites might be nearly 300 or 400 mites. That's the difference. They grow so much. I can't remember the exact number and the volumes they explode by, but that's why it's key to keep on top of your mites, because if you get on top of your mites, you get most of your things done. So I'm going to get stuck in here. I'm going to enjoy this because it's lovely. I'm going to quickly show you the setup I've got, because I've got mains electricity in my bottom shed there, but it's actually easier for me just to plug in my inverter. So I'm going to show you my inverter, what I plug it into, how it works, and then I'll just do a few hives and you can see I'm doing that. But that was just to say that today, that I really feel kind of more energized, but also we've got a little bit more light now. Things are on the up. We were 4 weeks now past the shortest, nearly 4 weeks to tomorrow, the day after, past that shortest day of the year, and we're starting to see that bit of light. We had sun coming through. You can feel that sun on your face. You know that it's coming back. You know that that energy is going to be renewed. So let's have a look at the inverter I use. So you can see here, this is my twin batteries that are underneath my driver's seat. It's as simple as that. And from the twin batteries, I have the 2 leads that go to my inverter. So it's pretty simple stuff. I turn my inverter on. It's a ring inverter I've got, 500 watt, and my the Sublimox I use is a 300 watt inverter. You can just see the 300 watt there in the 300. Getting a bit faint now, but what I do is I obviously connect that up. I've got a 50 meter extension cord, and I've used another one, the 25 meter one you can see on the top of that tray. I use that as well, so I've got 75 meters sometimes, but because I've got a good capacity inverter, I end up with the right power at the end to power it. The light comes on and off, it gets to its temperature. It's really good. That's why I love this piece of kit. It's not the cheapest setup, but it's a reliable setup. And obviously I can't get my truck into everywhere, but with 75 meters I can get fairly close to most of my hives. So I'll turn this on. You can hear that beep. You can hear there's a fan in this inverter, so that just sits on my seat like that. And I can just move the cable around to where I want. And I often start up the truck battery, but with twin batteries, so that's 65 ampere hours times 2, so it's 130 ampere hours of battery. It's a lot of battery. Often I still start the truck up there and leave it running when I'm going to doing a bit of apiary, and you can see here the light is on. I've got no gloves on yet because I don't need them on yet, but this is what happened. This charges up, that's the power light. That tells us there's power, and this yellow one is very bright, and when that goes to a power yellow, it's basically working and fully charged. This is the mask I use. It's pretty basic, but it's a full mask with the full respiratory grade. And next year I am going to change though to a much bigger face mask. So the base I can leave on all day. This isn't very comfortable, that one, and the elastic's gone. It'll do for this season, but it works fine for now. So anyway, let's get some vaping done. That gives you a little bit of overview of how I work with my... This is why I'm going to get the full mask, because I just hate this here. It's not that I've been crying, although I could have done a couple of weeks ago, thinking I was never going to get this done. But anyway, it's done a good job, you know. I didn't, honestly, with this on, it's got brand new filters, but with this I didn't get any taste at all, any sense of any oxalic acid, and I've just taken it off, and I've just smelt a few vapors coming from this. I'm just leaving just to burn off anything in the open air that was left, and I smell it straight away, so it must mean it's working well. It's really worth it. But anyway, good day. You obviously heard I had the engine running before, because even though there's twin batteries, I just like to keep a little bit of extra juice going back into the system. But to be honest, I don't think it'll make any difference. But I had this cable, which was 50 meters unrolled, and at the end of that, just this afternoon, at the end, because I've got another apiary right over there, well, not another apiary, but my other section, the old part, is right down the back there, behind sort of where that tree is. I wanted to get there for 2 more hives, and I'd finished everything, so I'm really pleased it's all done. But I had the whole lot on one length, and you know what? Absolutely no problem whatsoever. If you can use mains power, brilliant. If you can't, use a good generator. But I'm really pleased that's done. Now tomorrow I've got my nuke yard to do. There's 45 nukes there. I'll hopefully get that done, but I've got to be in for washing machine repair tomorrow morning, so the technician's coming to fix that, and I'm free to go. But I'm chasing the weather, because this gap we've got now has come a little bit late today. And it should be with us overnight and up till sort of early afternoon, so hopefully I'll get there tomorrow afternoon. But where my nuke yard is, it's in a little old quarry, so it's very sheltered, so I should be okay to get that all done tomorrow. Then there's no more I can do this week, because the weather looks absolutely foul. Maybe a gap at the end of the week, but at the end of the week I've got 4 more apiaries to do, but then I'm done. So it's good. And the bees here were absolutely perfect. You know, they had a flight, as you saw, then they all went back in, so they were all kind of quite moving around. They weren't in a cluster, and every single one came out covered in white powder, which was fantastic. So I just feel that today was like an exceptionally perfect day to apply the treatment, and this is where I need it more than most. This is my nuke yards. This is my where I've got a lot of young bees for next year, or this year, and I just feel that getting that pressure of the mites finally off of them is the best thing we can do. But I will come and do this all again, just to make a point. Why not? If you can do it again, keep doing it. So that's all for now. I've got other videos to do next week, so I look forward to presenting those. And until then, take care, be well, enjoy any gap in weather you get, and profit from your time wisely. There is loads to do. We've still got a huge list, but onwards and upwards. Take care. Bye for now.